One of the first shows I was on was called Design to Sell, and that was 3 rooms in 3 days with only $2,000, which you're like, how is that even possible?
Yep.
I would, in one episode, rip out like whole kitchens and bathrooms. I don't even know how we did it. It's almost a cheat code of sorts. Start with something you're really excited about,
Yes.
make it quality, and then layer it on. You don't have to make it so incredibly complicated. It almost is just like one step after the other that ends up kind of almost, from the outsider's perspective, accidentally making total sense.
I think the value of humans is still going to be huge, and if you can lean into using it for the crap task that you spend 5 hours a day on, if we could outsource that to AI, and then I could spend 5 hours talking to a real human and doing real things that only I can do.
Sure.
That's where the exponential value comes. So I think whoever figures that out first, as a company, as a person, as a leader in a company, they're going to win.
Welcome to the Grit Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Couch. This is the spot where leaders talk about the stories, strategies, and systems that win in the building industry. We unpack how leaders and brands build their reputations and become unmistakable.
Welcome to the Grit Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Couch, and I'm excited today to be here in Chatsworth, Georgia, live on scene with Chip Wade. Welcome to the show, Chip.
Thanks for having me.
And we are not only live on scene, but we are live on scene in a pink treehouse that you've built.
I thought you'd like it.
I mean, it's perfect. So good luck getting me out of here. I'm probably just going to move in. I brought my toothbrush.
That's good, that's good. Well, we got some extra ones upstairs in case you forget it.
So we are actually here on site, and we're going to tour 3 different tree houses that you built in Chatsworth. They're all themed, and we've been working on this for, you've been working on a year and a half, 2 years.
About a year and a half, yeah.
I've maybe met with you about a year ago, and we did some stuff with doors, which are my favorite love language, and I got to help you design a pink door, which is perfect. So I'm excited to talk. But before we talk about this project, I want to talk a little bit about you and your career. So I actually first got introduced to you about 2 years ago in person, but I used to watch your show on HGTV, Elbow Room. It was a show showing small spaces where you had all kind of cool things that you did, and you've really kind of taken that to the next level in these projects because they're pretty small, but you've jammed a lot of cool stuff into them. Tell me a little bit about your career, how you got started. You're a Georgia guy.
I am a Georgia guy, born and raised. I grew up kind of in like the Northeast kind of corridor, Gwinnett County, if you kind of know where that was. I went to a school called Parkview High School. Was into sports, kind of a typical upbringing, but always was very hands-on. I learned a lot from my dad. He was an engineer as well, but we had a home workshop, and I loved to build things. And so I went to Georgia Tech. I studied mechanical engineering. And that was just kind of because I didn't really know what else I wanted to do specifically. And after school, I worked a couple of different jobs. Worked a little bit of stuff with like the military, which was very cool. Worked with a lot of really smart, very non-personable engineers, which is kind of I would say the typical protocol for
don't strike me as engineer. If I met you, I wouldn't be like, oh, this guy's an engineer.
Right, yeah, it's kind of the ulterior personality to what you would typically think. But I knew I loved building, so what I ended up doing is I became a structural engineer for a home builder. And that's what I was doing when one day I got cast on a show for HGTV that I wasn't really looking for.
Yeah.
So I kind of came on as a sidekick character. Did shows for 5-6 years or so, and then the 7th year I actually ended up getting offered my own show.
That's really
so over the course of about 15 years, we've did hundreds and hundreds, I don't know, over 500 episodes on HGTV and DIY and others. And and so through the course of that, kind of as you start getting older and a little bit more proficient at what you're doing, I started an architecture firm. We have a brokerage with real estate, and then I have a production company. So. All those are about, ultimately, what I've kind of grown into is I love helping homeowners make educated home purchasing decisions, and building fun, kind of iconic, inspirational projects is kind of just one of those little things that scratches that creative itch, and that's where we are here.
Yeah, it's so much fun stuff in this house, and I can imagine how much fun you had picking it out. You had lots of product companies that partnered with you on this, and they got to show off some of their cool stuff. So it's always fun to be able to do something creative, because a lot of times home building can be, run-of-the-mill, your normal stuff. We sell a lot of 5-panel doors or just something very normal. but that's not what Chip Wade does. Chip Wade doesn't do normal. Well, I have a question for you based on your TV time. So give me a story or two that would be like something fun or crazy or unbelievable that happened during anything that you could tell me that would just be like, wow.
Oh man.
Behind the scenes, because we watch it on the post-production side.
Sure. Yeah, the TV stuff also has an arc to it. When I started back, in my early 20s, DIY programming was very different than it is now. It really was a little bit it was less about just entertainment. It was what I believe more about like real meat and potatoes, like quality design, quality how-to, which is what I am excited about. I don't really care so much about being super entertaining as wanting to build something that's very compelling and iconic.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just so incredibly hands-on that I'm sure I made it harder on myself in every aspect. So, from the early on programs, one of the first shows I was on was called Design to Sell. And that was 3 rooms in 3 days with only $2,000, which you're like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
But it's like, I think, but the miraculous part about it is when you put parameters around yourself, it's amazing actually even what you can do with what seems like virtually nothing.
Yeah.
And so, of course, yes, we got some product trade outs and things like that. But I would in one episode rip out like whole kitchens and bathrooms in one episode and do all of that. And I look back on it, I don't even know how we did it.
So did you go to like thrift stores and buy furniture and stuff to use for vanities?
We would do anything and everything that we had to, or I would just build it
yourself.
So it was crazy though with the times. Like I would work through the night on a regular basis. It was an absolute grind, but those are also some of the best times.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest differentiator is like when you're watching television, kind of being able to pick and kind of have a little bit more of an understanding on who really knows what they're doing and who's kind of there for the entertainment.
Yeah.
Which again, we kind of all do it to ourselves though, because TV is produced on what people watch.
Sure.
And so
even social media is
it's kind of all
way.
our own faults because we like to watch the characterization of actual real things.
Yeah, the fun part or the terrible like oh no part or whatever is what we stop on.
But that's where the engineer in me just like, oh, I hate that stuff so bad that like I just want to see something amazing.
Yeah. Well, now you are working in, like you said, lots of capacities. You actually also work with your wife, and I work with my husband, so that's a whole dynamic.
Not everybody can do it.
Not everyone can, but you guys have different strengths, I'm sure, and you're working in different parts of the business, and I'm sure she had a lot to do with the finishing touches on some of these,
For sure. She is an invaluable resource. Now, she will be the first one to self-proclaim like she's not the designer. That's not what her background is in, but again, she's been doing it with me now for almost 20 years. It's like, no, you're pretty much there, sweetie.
She's helping pick.
So, with all that stuff, but it's also, I'm a very creative, kind of outbound, cast the net wide, meet everybody, see what there is to see. And then it's about kind of, siphoning through to really find what's worth including. So for any project like this, one thing I love to do more than anything is the research on it. And the only way to really figure it out is to try it and see if it's any good.
Yeah.
That's the only way that I feel confident on speaking matter-of-factly about any product. So some stuff really surprises me in a great way. Some stuff, unfortunately, surprises me in a bad way. More and more, it's kind of like approximately where I think it's going to be. But occasionally, things kind of fall outside of that. But the only way to do that is to do kind of next level, push yourself type designs where it's not just standard run-of-the-mill builder grade stuff, because also nobody cares about seeing that as well. So doing that, there's certainly inherent risk involved, and it takes more time, and it's much harder, and oftentimes more expensive, but it's the only way to get the experience.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because you have a lot of products that you can sift through. Like you said, there's a lot of things on the market. Like take a window, for example. There's millions of options by the time you go brands, colors, types, sizes, all those things.
That's right.
So when you're working on these projects and when you're out working with brands, what is that like? Tell me a little bit about your process, like when you started picking things for these projects and when you started thinking about design and what you wanted these to look like and feel like. What's your process like?
Well, first and foremost, the product has to be quality. Whether or not it looks the way that I want it to look right on the website or on the shelf is almost a secondary thing for what my process is. But when I first started, I was, not quite so open-minded. I was like, okay, I'm looking for a very specific thing. Let me search until I find exactly what I want to find. Now, I'm a little bit more open where a lot of folks can do a lot of different things. And so as long as the quality, the craftsmanship, the warranty, and really the relationship with the actual entity themselves is there, I feel like there's a way of getting to the final product. And so much more, similar to, some of the custom features like the doors or like some of the custom finishes that I'll show you later, they may not even exist off the shelf.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that's really fun for me to be able to do with brands is to come up with something, try it, actually go from design all the way to, okay, now I get it in context. And oftentimes that comes or turns into a product line, it turns into, or at a minimum, a new product offering for that brand where they might see a market or an elevated, execution of their own product line that they didn't realize they could do.
Yeah, I mean, like with these doors, you and I were having lunch and we were talking about them, and I think I took out a notepad or my electronic notepad, and so what if we did this and did a circle window, and because it's feminine, so let's make it clean.
That's right.
And then that's the door. It's
there
here in real life, and we put a Dutch door on the pink one, and it was just fun to draw. I mean, for me as a door nerd and also someone who loves designing things, I think it's really fun to be able to say, hey, we literally drew that on a napkin. I mean, it was a 2025
100%.
napkin, but now it's real life,
and it's perfect.
It's beautiful,
Yeah.
and so it's so cool. And the fact that some of them are just weird shapes, a Gothic arch, which
right.
we'll show. That's probably my favorite thing.
Me too. Yep.
It's the weirdest thing, and you don't see that hardly ever, and it's so beautiful. So I can't wait to show everyone that because it turned out spectacular.
Well, one thing that's interesting, whenever you and I were talking about this project and we got excited about the doors, and you might not think, okay, the doors is a great place to start, but it actually helped to inform a lot of other things. I mean, you look at the archways and this is the whole thematic kind of language that we use throughout this entire property, or at least this tree house. And similarly with the Jake, with the Gothic arches and all that, it really informed that design language all the way through, which it's almost a cheat code of sorts. Start with something you're really excited about, make it quality, and then layer it on. I mean, and that's just something that you kind of learn after doing projects. You don't have to make it so incredibly complicated. It almost is just one step after the other that just kind of leads into a rolling motion that ends up kind of almost from the outsider's perspective accidentally making total sense.
Yeah, and I think, I think about personal style, like an outfit or something like that. It's very similar with a house. Everything doesn't have to be a wow moment. Some of them are complementary items to a wow moment. And so, like you said, these arches and all of that are complementary to the wow moment on the door. And then you've got some hidden features like the Murphy doors we were really excited about. You have a pink toilet in here.
If there was ever a time to use it, this was it.
It's amazing. Who provided that?
That was a Kohler toilet.
Okay, so Kohler toilet. I mean, just really cool. So, Magby Contractor Supply did the doors, and then Murphy Door provided the hidden doors, and both of them are products I just really love, and I was just pumped to be able to get it in here. So I can't wait to show everyone the final finished product. Let's talk about a little bit about the property, because not only is the actual house and the area that inside the house amazing, you look out these beautiful doors here and you see my favorite part of the world, which is the North Georgia mountains.
Unstoppable.
It is absolutely breathtaking. This morning we're actually here, it's kind of been raining, and there's this mist rising up through the mountains, which is magical. I mean, it feels like a Disney movie, and I may be into Disney Princess, so if I break out into song,
then I'll join in.
Yeah, I hope
hopefully
so.
in tune.
But it is really cool. So how did you pick this? Tell me this story, because there's a really neat story about the name of the mountain.
That's right.
And then the name of the houses, it's sort of taking that wow moment and the theme coming from something naturally. Tell me about that.
Well, the actual identification of the property, that's probably one of the questions I get asked the most is, how did you find this place? Because you're like, does this type of place even exist? Because you look around and you see no other houses, you don't see roads, you don't hear anything.
Yeah.
We're surrounded by about 60,000 acres of national forest. Now, I found this property not by looking to do an architectural build project. I found this because I was looking at a place to get off the beaten path to take my kids to ride four-wheelers. And there's an off-road vehicle trail that is actually contiguous with this road, actually, and about a quarter mile it just ends and then just goes for miles and miles through the national forest, which is amazing. So I brought them up here, and in my course up here I was like, where are we?
Yeah.
This is absolutely amazing. My family loved it. And so I actually ended up finding this property, a small parcel, 5 acres listed on Facebook Marketplace from a holding company out of Alaska. It wasn't even listed on the MLS.
Wow.
So
Meant to be.
Yeah, so this is not something I'm like, this is the strategy of how to find it. It was accidental. I actually only wanted to buy 2 acres because mountain property is notoriously difficult. You don't need a ton, especially when you're surrounded
Sure.
by something like a national forest. So I ended up having to buy the 5 acres to make the deal work. And I built a project called The Lodge at Pinhoti first. That was the first project. Then I bought another 15 acres as it, just kind of became something I could negotiate with other property owners. But then I wanted to do something that was different. This mountain is actually on a national hiking trail called the Pinhoti Trail. So basically Pinhoti is an Indian word that means turkey home. And so what's cool about it is this actually ties right into the Appalachian Trail. So it's about 240 miles long. It starts in Alabama, works its way all the way across the North Georgia corridor. But there's hikers, mountain bikers that come through here every single day, which is very, very cool. Probably a little bit of a shock to come up on this whole compound, when you.
They're like, hopefully this is a hostel for me to stay
that's right.
while working.
That's right.
Walking
They're
this
looking
thing.
for a black bear, and then they're like, whoa, wait a second, did we get off the track? But that's where I wanted to create something that was obviously thematically, there was a purpose. So our tree houses is really a play off the turkey theme. And so the Jake, the Jenny, and the Tom, they're all kind of names of turkeys of different, maturity and gender. So really fun. That gave us a great kind of clear theme to do different styles and aesthetics. But yeah, it's not any more magical than that, other than it's just an absolutely beautiful location. And it's meant to take advantage of, what we didn't create and kind of get the architecture out of the way, but make this as a spot. I kind of wanted this to be a little bit more like an adult Disneyland. And to do that, we had to do a couple of things very, very well, which is take away all of the distractions. Like when you go, I'm not a huge Disney guy, to go, everybody takes their kids there when you're little, but you can't mistake you get a feeling when you're there, which there's almost like a perfection to it, almost like a atypical perfection. And it's all about, it smells good, it looks good, there's not distraction, you're getting this kind of feeling of urban, convenience, but you get all of the benefits of it being pristine. And so that's kind of what I wanted to create here, which is that, but I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to feel youthful, but more like a Disneyland for adults.
Yeah, and each house has some fun aspect underneath the tree house. So tell us about what you built into each one and kind of what the activities are.
Sure. Well, here in the Jenny, which is the center, all of these houses, I'm calling them tree houses. They're not actual tree houses. They're up on stilts.
Sure.
I've built a lot of tree houses over the past 20 years. The whole way that you see on like shows like Tree House Masters and all that with the tree hanging brackets and all that. I'm not the biggest fan of those, mainly just because of the longevity, making like a real long-lasting, high-quality, sustaining structure. It's almost impossible to do that on a living tree. So what I wanted to do is to create that elevation, that weightlessness, create these vistas, and obviously we're on very adverse terrain, 30+% grade. It's hard to build here. And so my initial concept was actually building a pedestal house on a big, like 4-foot diameter pole, which I still want to do. It was a great idea. I just ended up diverting a little bit because of site conditions on this one. But basically, we're between 20 and 28 feet up off the ground for the 3 different structures. Each house has 2 different structures. One has 8 pilings and one has 6. But what that does is it creates this under area that is very unique and interesting. So you get that weightlessness of airiness, so you actually see the woods and the views even under the house, which is awesome. But because of that, because of the site work that was done, it provided opportunities to do outdoor living areas with significance, from pickleball to putting greens to slides to big, massive hanging, above ground stargazing nets.
Chessboards that are the size of, your body.
All the fun things that you just look at it and you kind of instinctually just want to be like, I want to go down there. We got waterfalls coming down and all kinds of bridges that you're walking 40 foot off the ground where you're like, oh, that's cool, but you get up there and you're like, whoa, we're really up here, but we're not swaying in the wind. It's not kind of like a sketchy thing. It's a really solid, well done piece.
In the fall, I cannot wait to come back and see it with the mountains in full beauty and all the colors. I can't wait. So,
And you're going to see bear here every day.
have you seen a lot of turkey? I feel like
tons of turkey up here,
it
tons
has
of bear.
to be, right?
No deer, surprising. I've seen a couple of deer, but we're at about 3,000 foot of elevation, and the deer really don't come up, north of about 2,000, except for a couple of times a year when they're, chasing each other. But bear, any given day, you'd see a mom and a few cubs and a couple of young males and then a big male all in one day. So you're here staying, and it's like you're in a zoo.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
That's pretty common in these parts for people who are like, what, a bear? It's like black bear in Georgia. My dad has a pet bear that kind of comes up to their yard and tries to get his bird feeder. They're in a little bit of a war. It's pretty common here, so just make sure if you stay here, you put your trash up at night.
The trash is what it's all about. I've gone through, if anybody needs any insight on how to protect trash from bear, I've got a lot of resources because I've done it wrong about 20 times, but I finally got it figured out, I think.
They are really good at
relentless.
getting into
Actually, I had a one of those big job boxes, and up at the lodge, and I had some guests staying there, and they sent me a video, and there's 3 bear on top of it, jumping up and down. They fill up the whole entire thing. It takes 2 full-grown men to lift this box empty, and those 3 young bears, it was like claw marks, dents, and and it was cabled to a rock wall. They flipped the entire thing over. It is just
what
crazy.
Was it that they
just
wanted?
House trash. It's just house trash.
Wow.
Yeah, they smelled that chicken, and
they're very clever.
yeah,
That's hilarious.
they're hungry is what they are. They're not going to really bother you, but they want to eat.
That's
so
great.
put your trash away.
Well, for people that may be thinking about this property, it is actually, they are for rent. So you have them individually. But one thing that you were talking to me about that I think would be amazing is you have the lodge, which is a bigger property. How many rooms is it?
It has 5 different bedrooms, but it will actually sleep 15, but we market it as sleeping 12.
Okay.
And then each of the tree houses will sleep 4 to 6.
Yeah.
So comfortably, a lot of people, can, bring a group of 30.
Yeah, so you could do like a corporate retreat here.
Corporate
you could do
retreat, big family events.
Family event, or if you wanted to bring church retreat,
That's right.
anything like that. Like, it's such a great place. So I hope people.
I hope so. Yeah, you can find it on pinhotypeak.com, but it's on Airbnb and VRBO and all.
It's going to be packed this fall. I can't wait for you. I need a reserve now.
Come on, I'll get you in.
Okay, I feel like I know a guy.
Yeah. We can make it happen.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about some of the partners that let's spotlight some of the things you love the most. I would love to talk about just some of the coolest products in here because we're going to show some of them, and I want to be able to.
For sure.
Show them off. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness. So total, it's a little overwhelming. I think we ended up having about 140 different brands.
Wow.
With full, product specification. Obviously, I use a lot more than that, but those are ones where I specifically work directly with them, where I hand selected, either helped developed or, specified specific products for. So. Obviously, a lot of the big things, I have a long-standing relationships with brands like Daltile that make everything from quartz countertops, natural stone countertops, to all of the tile everywhere. I work with Kohler, which I also have another long-standing relationship with. They make great stuff. I mean, you like the pink toilets, you like the pink farmstead sink.
Yeah.
So,
and talking about brand, which obviously I love, and visibility, Kohler just does such a great job with their marketing and their branding, and they make beautiful things and they show them beautifully.
That's right. And they're just, you can't deny the quality.
Yeah.
I mean, are they expensive? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that are also expensive or almost expensive and still kind of like not really worth it. So I definitely err on the quality side of things.
Yeah.
Just when you start to build properties and
people will be touching it and messing with it a lot.
Things will get messed up if they're not made to last the test of time.
For sure.
So I don't know, fun things in here that I think might be unorthodox. I worked with a company called John Boos.
Okay.
Actually, the table behind me here, solid butcher block slabs, kind of in different scenarios. In the Jake, you'll see I actually have waterfall to edged walnut butcher block slabs.
Wow.
That I use there. And for the shells, it all really looks nice
Where
together.
are they out of? I've never heard that before.
John Boos, I think they're in Illinois.
Okay.
But a great, super high-end cutting boards is what people know them for. We'll see them here at the Builder Show as well. But they're a great brand. Trying to think of things that might be of real interest. I worked with a variety of different lighting brands. This is actually from Calco, which is one of those that you would like look at. Lighting on websites is tough.
Yeah.
You know, it's like picking stuff. You're like, man, is that weird? Like, why does everything just look so weird? Like,
Well,
even
and how's it going to look when it's off versus on?
That's right.
You know, 'cause
and it's so
sometimes
difficult
not
to
on.
understand just by looking at. But this is a great example of one that just totally paid off.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, where
Really
else would I have ever used a light that looked like this? I don't know, but here it is, and I think it's fantastic.
I like it because the inside of it's sort of wagon wheel, like a little ode to something older.
That's right.
But the outside,
But it's very contemporary at the same time.
it's really cool. I like it a lot.
All in kind of a very cottage core environment, which again, but somehow it really goes. A lot of the other lighting is from Kichler that you'll see that you'll probably really like, especially the outdoor lighting.
Windows, where are the windows from?
Well, it's now MI Windows, but it was New South Windows is where I got
Okay.
these from. But they're all impact rated glass.
Really? It is so quiet in here.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, we had to insulate really, really well with these. Again, another challenge with this is because they're open underneath. That's another thing that like almost no other residential structure has to deal with.
No.
We have super steep roofs, 16-12 pitch.
God bless your roofers.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So the peaks of these are, you know, well over 70 foot tall off the ground. So, and you have no level ground around. So just for anybody that understands building, it is a challenge beyond challenges to make that happen. And where we are here in Georgia at this elevation in the winter, the temperatures are significantly lower. And so for the entire cold months, the ground just stays in a perpetual state of thaw, and which basically means you're in a mud bog on steep slopes. So needless
And
to say,
wind and rain and all the
everything is about 9 times as hard. And I honestly felt that way up here. And I've built in a lot of different places, but we're done now, so time will heal.
Are they still answering your phone calls?
Oh my gosh, I actually texted one of my lead framers the other day, just checking on him and his family.
Like, are we still friends?
Yeah.
Check yes or no.
Oh my gosh. But that's why you make something iconic, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got to get people excited and prideful about the work they're doing. And you do that when you're making cool stuff.
That's one thing I want to ask you about. So you've been in this business a long time, so have I. You know, things are shifting with the next generation coming in, and builders are changing, and how things are working in the industry are changing. But what excites you most about some of the things that are happening, and how do we get other people, because you do a lot of work with younger people trying to get them into the trades. Is it Skills USA?
I'm not directly with Skills USA. We cross paths. I'll actually be at a Skills USA here in another week or so, doing an integration with doing a little builders program where I, teach some building classes through them. But as you said, I'm very involved in the trades, and I'm involved in what's called the Elite Trades Championship Series.
Okay.
Which is another whole like big national.
It's like the Olympics for the trades.
Yeah. So we have different ones for like plumbers, electricians,
Very cool.
Even auto tech. All of these types of things. Really cool, but it's about elevating the trades. It's a tough bit out there. It's getting harder and harder. But these guys and girls are unbelievable, and they're clearly a very necessary and vital part of making any of this stuff happen. I mean, I learned pretty much everything I know from working side by side with skilled trades. So I'm a big advocate for them. And at the same time, technology and skilled trades, this is an interesting kind of junction point where I don't necessarily think it's going to be an intersection, but it's really more of like a, kind of a tangent battle a little bit, where technology is going to have to accommodate skilled labor, and skilled labor is going to have to adopt technology in a much more meaningful way to be efficient, or else everything kind of screeches to a halt from an economic standpoint.
Yeah, and AI is obviously here coming on strong, and there's some things that historically have been really hard, like takeoffs, that AI can do a really great job of. Home Depot just
But
came out.
nobody's missing that.
That's right. No one's missing that, but it may make everything easier. And so that is really exciting that maybe you hated that part of the business, and now AI can do it.
That's right.
That is exciting to me, because my dad really hated takeoffs in our lumberyard, and I remember hearing him like, I want to sell this job, but man, I don't want to do this takeoff.
That's right.
And it's a lot of liability also on people.
There's plenty of other things people can do besides takeoffs that is more enjoyable and, an exceedingly value proposition rather than, making human mistakes.
So for those that maybe are trying to decide, like, do I want to go to college, more traditional route, or do I want to go into the trades, maybe work for someone, own my own business eventually, whatever that looks like, what would you say to those people?
Yeah, try it. There's no, my son's 17 right now. I have 3 kids. We're having this exact conversation right now. Even though, I say this a lot, it's when I'm talking to an older guy or girl that's already made it in their career, they've got millions of dollars. It's easy for them to say, oh yeah, don't worry about it, because they've already made their bag.
Yeah.
We're still in the hustle, we're doing all this. So I have to also be understanding when I'm talking to my son or when I'm talking to younger kids, being like, oh no, you don't need to do that. Like, how much is that believable?
Yeah.
I will say, even though, I went to Georgia Tech, I don't regret it whatsoever. I got a nice degree. Do I attribute that to, all of my success? No, I mean, possibly part of it, but I attribute what I did in a college degree as just a showcase of resiliency. I think that there was already a piece of that in there. It was a mechanism for me to kind of suss that out, but it didn't make or break, and I don't think it's going to make or break other kids as well. I think you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it, and that's inherent. I feel like there's different ways of increasing your network, which really historically, I don't even so much now, but is kind of been a utility of, kind of graduate, college type programs.
Sure.
There's ways to skin the cat. Ambition and hard work is going to get you there.
Absolutely.
Period. So whatever method that takes, whether it's college, whether it's going directly into trades, some of the most successful people I've ever met had nothing to do with college.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's just a testament to is college bad? No, but have a purpose for it. Don't just do it because.
When we lived in Texas, we moved there and we lived in a little town called Heath that has a lot of wealth in that area. And we were driving down this road and I was with someone that I was working with and he had lived there for a long time. And I said, well, what in the heck do all these people do? Because it was like 20,000 foot house, 20,000 square foot house, like giant houses, one after the other. And he was like, that guy's a roofer, that guy sells porta potties, and that guy does scrap metal. And I was like, okay, well, that's, no one there is doing the traditional college route, but they all had houses that were a lot bigger than the one I was living in.
But they all had something in common.
That's exactly
They probably all busted their tail.
For years, I'm sure 20, 30 years.
And they were less concerned about the optics of what they were doing than the daggum paycheck.
The dirty jobs do sell, and they're usually the ones that no matter what the economy, if you think about it, no matter what the economy does, a plumber is going to have work. Maybe not as much as when new construction is booming, but he's always going to get called when the toilet stops up.
But this is the thing. When you are a type of person where day in and day out, you're out there, you are tactile, you're working with your hand, there is a physical IQ to that is very transferable across so many different things. So, I mean, I kind of liken it to like the engineering route. If you're going to go to college, that may not be a bad one because for the same reason, it's very universal in its utility. You know, I'm not doing anything, I'm not an engineer now, but it prepared that mental process did have a level of preparation. Similarly, the hands-on stuff has served me really well. I could go do a number of different things. I could now get into plumbing, I could get into electricians, I could build houses, I can do anything. And all of those are, potentially very valuable occupations. So whatever you like.
The core skills transfer, like you said, and I think that is important. And also the communication skills, and you mentioned building a network. I mean, I can't imagine that most of what you've had success in hasn't had something to do with your ability to meet people and network.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, you're amazing at it, and I think that has to be a huge portion of why you're successful.
So one silver lining of getting over 40 is your network starts to mature a little bit, because now all of your people that you've met have put in their due diligence and their time and their effort as well. And I mean, that's what you're going to see. This is why, when you're always working hard. That's why I'm now with maybe a girl that I met that, just got out of school 20 years ago. Now she's the VP of marketing at some massive brand, and she takes my phone call. And that's what made it all worth, even though at the time, maybe I didn't think she knew anything, but that's why you're positive with people. You don't burn bridges ever. But you just stay with that integrity and work hard, and things will work out eventually.
So for someone that doesn't know how to build a network maybe, or that doesn't have natural charisma, what would you tell them as a starting point of hey, I really want to connect with more people outside of my company or outside of the circle I'm already in? Where do you start?
You just literally, there is no substitute for face-to-face interactions. This is really still maybe the main reason why I go to trade shows. Even though it seems a bit of an arc, like, are these things even going to be around? I don't know, but it's one of still the vestiges that where people show up in some fashion, and you're able to sit and you're able to have a conversation that's mixed with personal stuff and business stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I now try to make that time more valuable by piling on different levels of things, but it's
We
worth
all
it.
do that, like that 24 hours.
Right.
It's like, well, we have 24 hours. We're going to use every minute of
That's
it.
right. But the main lifeblood is going back and saying hello, even if it's just a hi.
Right.
Because when you make a phone call, if I call you in 10 years and haven't seen you, talked to you, or whatever, you're gonna be like, "What? Are you still alive?" You
Yeah.
know, like what are you even doing? But
Yeah.
you know, if I even once a year
Just say
said,
hi.
"Stephanie, hey, it's great to see you. You
Yeah.
look great. You
Yeah.
know, what are you doing? Got some exciting stuff. Let me send you something." You know, like that. There's just something that just baked into humanity that is just the way that we feel comfortable, and so I think it's a necessity.
I heard something the other day that I thought was pretty cool. Ryan Serhant, who does the real estate
Yeah.
stuff, and he's got shows and stuff, but they asked him, what do you think is the most important thing to your success? And he said basically his ability to follow up with someone until they die. That's exactly how he said it. And he said, not necessarily like buy something from me, just like you just said,
right.
connection. It doesn't have to be any end game to it that you know, oh, this is going to turn into something.
Eventually, you'll be at the right place at the right time.
That's right. And they
That's
may
right.
need you and you may need them, or symbiotically it could work out. But not letting those things go and forgetting, like you said, for 10 years to touch base or to say hi or to
That's
send a
right.
note, a text, that kind of thing. And I've really tried to do that. And I think a lot of people are good at that. Do it.
I
just
think that this is
organically.
going to be one thing that's interesting, and one thing I'm personally trying to figure out is how do I leverage AI in an impactful way that doesn't completely undermine my whole that whole
Right.
that dynamic of personal interaction, but yet able to do it at scale where you're not doing the redundant dummy work, but it's not a form letter that you're just cascading across everybody. That ultimately is going to get so diluted because when everybody does that,
They
it's going to
know
end
it's
up
AI.
working against you. So I think that's going to be. We're going to see some success with brands or individuals that figure out how to do that at scale.
Right.
That's going to be interesting, and I want to be a student of that as
Yeah.
well because I'm interested in that. But it can also go wrong
Well,
if we're not
that's the
careful.
thing is with AI video, you can already do that where it feels like it's, hey, Chip, this is Stephanie Couch. But really, Chip is not what I said. I just said, hey, and then I got AI to fill in your name. And people are going to know that's not you. And they're going
That's
to
right.
know it's 500 videos I sent in 13 seconds because I did
and
that.
the thing is, like, will that work this year? Maybe.
Right.
Will it work next year? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe it will. I think that's still a little bit TBD in the way that consumers absorb more automated content because we just have so much content. I don't know the right answer to this, actually. Even for brands as it relates to advertising. This is a very interesting turning point. I'm in a lot of TV broadcast.
Yeah.
You know, historically, that this has been a little bit of a known entity on how to do it, a proven thing, but now we just are drinking out of just unending amounts of content. So therefore making content, making realistic content, making relevant content isn't even a differentiator. So what becomes the differentiator? It sticks out. This is where we're figuring this out, and brands, especially in the home and lifestyle category, which notoriously are slightly second or third tier in line of aggressiveness when it comes to adopting new strategies. It's gonna be interesting, but that's where on the technology side, I get really invigorated of playing around in that technology in that next level kind of sphere to see what's actually impactful.
Right.
And that is where I've been fairly successful with brands, kind of not on like a broadcast side, but from an actual brand building side on what that looks like. And the thing about that, it's like technology. It's always changing. It's a great business to be in because you're constantly reinvigorating and reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
If you're not afraid to do that, then it's a wellspring.
Well, with AI, I mean, every single morning when you wake up, things are happening that are like landmark changes. And every week, it's something very big that's happening. So it's not like hey, this changed one little tiny thing. It's a whole new opportunity every week. So I think most people are having a hard time keeping up with it if they're not spending most of their time doing that. And people like us can kind of experiment for them,
Yep.
try some things, throw some spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks, and then know it's probably going to be different.
I was curious about that. This is just a question that I thought you might have a good answer for as well, with what you do, is with the AI integration with things and with all this content that we're absorbing, how much resistance, just like, it's not just our grandparents or our parents' generation anymore that are watching some, ridiculous wildlife video that they send you and you're like, that's not real. That's not real. But like, it's getting so good. It's like, I'm like, dadgummit. Like, it is not going to be long before even the people that are in tune with this stuff, and I believe it's really going to affect the trust factor of everything.
Yeah. And
how does that affect consumer behavior as it relates to brand advertisement? Because this is, me and you are in this space, and I think it's going to define a lot of what we're doing in the next 12 to 24 months.
I have a pretty contrarian thought on all of it, really. I think that because of AI and because of the ease of making content at scale, right? So people that maybe could make 1 or 2 blogs a month can now make 20 blogs in 30 seconds, and they might be horrible, but you can put it out into the world, right?
And a couple of them might hit,
Everything on the internet is filling, and out in the world is filling the answers that AI is giving people. So if the category of how fast you can create content that's complete crap is easier, so there's going to be so much more crap out there that's then answering your question. So I think it's going to do 2 things. I think it's going to create great distrust in most people, and I think it's going to create more trust for live events. I think you're going to see sort of Ben and I talk about this a lot, and I think his word is demodernization. So you know how people are going back to sort of like old school. They don't want the wide open house plan anymore. They want the walls again. They want to feel like grandma's house. I think that's going to happen with events. I think it's going to happen with relationships, and I think it's going to make it to where people are going to go back to some old school ways on certain things, and then they're going to use AI for the stuff that is real easy to do, task driven.
Yep.
But I do believe content is going to be, the realer it looks, the less produced it is, the more it's really just a storytelling, like person to person, where you know it's Chip or you know it's Stephanie. I think that is going to be the most valuable thing. And I believe truly that will happen quickly, because like you said, there's coming. Everywhere you look, it's videos that you can't tell. It looks real. It looks like a real person. It looks like whatever. And you can kind of see some little small things, but the better the video gets, you're not even going to be able to tell that.
That's right. I mean, it's happening in all aspects of life, from politics to everything else. We just make these quick judgments off of little snip, little snip. We craft this narrative, and then we're going to get fatigued of that. I'm getting tired of it. I was like, I want to almost just like throw my phone in the garbage.
That's right.
Honestly, a little bit. It's just
But if you wanted to write something with AI, I could literally go in and say, write me 1,000 blogs, and it would come out with 1,000 blogs in like minutes.
Right.
Minutes. It's insane, but there's no value there. So, and I'm not saying no, but it's replicating. So what can AI not do? In my opinion, AI cannot tell a story that's not either made up or from another story. It can't create a story, and it can't think the way that humans can to problem solve really organically. And what I mean by that is, whatever it solves for you and whatever strategy AI gives you is something from a pattern that's happened before. So if you think about the Wright brothers, they looked up in the sky and saw a bird and said, we can do that. It was never done before. It never could have been done in 99.9% of humans' minds. But because they saw that could happen here, they took that pattern and they made it happen, right? But AI is not going to do things like that. It's going to say, this is the pattern, these are the things, and maybe it's going to solve for stuff, but not like humans do.
Sure.
So I think the value of humans is still going to be huge. And if you can lean into using it for the crap tasks that you spend 5 hours a day on, like I spend so much time on email and, things like that. Not email personally, like here's our relationship, just tactical bullcrap. If we could outsource that to AI, and then I could spend 5 hours talking to a real human and doing real things that only I can do.
Sure.
That's where the exponential value comes. So I think whoever figures that out first, as a company, as a person, as a leader in a company, they're going to win. And I think there's going to be an exponential curve that happens for those companies.
Yeah, it definitely is an interesting time. It's a fast-moving time. There's no doubt. I mean, I was telling you I'm going to do a speaking engagement here shortly, and it's shocking. You put into any different AI protocols for like idea generation stuff, and you're like, man, this thing will spit out an eloquent, absolute just bull crap, thing to where it's like the most, cloaked motivational stuff. But you can do it.
Right.
You can do it, but I was like, what does this not have? Like, why would somebody care about what I have to say?
Yeah.
Like, I could give you all of these leadership jargon and all this stuff. It's like, you know what? Okay, maybe, am I credentialized to talk about this? Maybe, but you know what I'm great at? I'm just like, I'm a doer. I'm a real creative guy that actually, we need to talk about the stuff that we do. Because ultimately, AI can design your kitchen and tell you that it looked, and you're like, oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
But the difference is, like, when we walk through this space, this is different because I know how I want to live personally. And if human to human, we could relate that way, there's a different language there that ultimately is way more compelling than just the lipstick.
And proof always, AI doesn't have proof. It has what it makes up based on patterns. But like when you step out and say, this is what you do, it's because you literally are sitting in the place that you built with your own hands or with.
And we can back it up.
That's right.
19 layers deep.
Exactly.
And I think people are getting fatigued, even if somebody gives the right answer, they don't even know where it comes from.
No.
We're just listening and re-parroting back, what are the design trends? Okay, or if it's something political or if it's something else. Like none of us really have like the undergirt of the why.
Right.
And when we do, that's the people that are getting elevated and listened to once it's 3 layers deep with, this is why I believe this.
Yeah.
This is what it is. And when that becomes believable, that's the biggest differentiator. That's who I think is going to ultimately rise to the top.
You got to have
through all
both.
this.
You can use your power, your strengths, your abilities, and your experience, and then couple it with the technology and the ability to scale that, and that's great. And so the brands that really are doing well, their products are amazing, their services are amazing, the people are amazing. If they put them in the forefront and then do use AI as an accelerant, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, there's the ways to do it, but just going the easy route of just trying to churn out and keep up with the Joneses.
Volume is
gonna
not
be
the
brutal.
game. There's so much noise now. You have to be able to segment what is a signal and what is noise.
Sure.
And that's going to get harder, as like you said, in the next 12 months.
But that's I know both you and I are in that game.
I'm fired up about it.
Big time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be exciting to work with different brands that are kind of the same mindset.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm excited to go tour these houses.
Let's do
Thank you so much for joining me. And you're going to be at IBS next week, International Builder Show, big week for our industry. Anything super exciting there's so much to see there. I'm obviously very keyed in on like the window and door products and the lumber and building materials side more than the KBIS side. But where can people go to see anything exciting that you've seen? Any products coming up? What is your topic? What did you choose to speak on?
So I'm actually going to be talking about momentum in a project and kind of because ultimately I feel like that's what I'm best at, creating excitement, creating momentum, and actual like real change with a project.
Yeah.
So kind of my methodology with how I do that is what I'll be talking about. But what I'm really looking for, I'm really thinking that I think that there's this is a bit of an aside, but a big press in the future that's not tiny homes, it's not park models necessarily, but they are going to have some type of, there is a missing piece of modularity, cost effectiveness, and quality at a confined scale that's not 200 square feet. It's not ridiculously small, but there's something that's really where my interest is tweaked, and that's really what I'm going to be looking at these shows.
I actually totally agree with you. It's interesting that you say that. One of my architects that we partnered with and did some stuff for, Lou Oliver, who drew Trilith, where the studios are in Atlanta. He did Avalon Mall. He's done a ton of stuff, big stuff. But he has designed a modular collection, the same reason. Because if you think about how hard it is to build things and the labor is not going to get easier to get.
That's right.
It's not going to be cheaper. And if you can build something that's still well built, so similar to the furnishings that we're looking around in here, it's still beautiful, amazing.
But it can't be
to live in.
$500,000.
No, it's got to be relatively affordable, and it has to be where you could build it very easily and scale.
So that's what I think that there's probably going to be a piece of that you're going to see from me in some significant level in the next 2 years.
That's amazing.
But yeah, I'm in my kind of absorption phase of all that. I have big ideas, but obviously it's got to be something that has strong merit and a great plan.
The affordability piece is going to be tough.
That's right.
Because even in a small scale, if you did 12 to 1,500 square feet or something like even 2,000 square feet, it's tough to get it affordable.
That's right. That's right. But there's ways to do it, but it's going to come down to material. It's going to come down to process. But that's what we're good at. So
it's exciting.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Pink windows and doors everywhere.
Possibly. It'll be an option for sure.
Upgrade feature.
That's right.
All right. Well, we will see you on the next episode of The Grit Blueprint. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for listening to the Grit Blueprint podcast. If this episode helped you think a little differently about how to show up, share it with someone in your building world who needs it. If you're ready to turn visibility into growth, then head to gritblueprint.com to learn more and book a call to talk to us about your growth strategy. Until next time, stay unmistakable.